How's it going, guys? Time for another Patreon-sponsored review, and this one is going to be a little bit different compared to what I usually review. It's not animated, it's a live-action movie, and it also talks about a subject that is very important to a lot of people, including myself, and that subject is autism. These days, it always seems people like to put down autistic individuals, labeling them as stupid and unable to function in society. But in actuality, autistic people can be highly intelligent. Some may have a routine they like to follow, and some may have strong interests in subjects like math and technology. The downside to autism is that it also affects social skills. A lot of the time you may be talking to someone, but they can't look you in the eye. Or maybe you don't want to do or say anything because you're not sure of what to say. I say this because I've dealt with a lot of this stuff in my life. I've always been into BattleBots and YouTube videos and yada yada yada, but I have the social skills of an iguana. I always have trouble talking to people. I can't look them in the eye, or sometimes I say stupid stuff and people tell me about it and I kind of cower in fear and stuff, you know. But you know what? We're only human. Sometimes we make mistakes, we learn from them. So, speaking of mistakes, let's talk about tonight's movie, and that's Sia's music. If you don't know who Sia is, she's an Australian pop singer who's had quite a few #1 hits on the Billboard charts, like Chandelier and Cheap Thrills. I've never really listened to much of her music since I'm a big rock and roll boomer, but she definitely has her followers. Animation fans may recognize her as the voice of Songbird Serenade in the 2017 My Little Pony movie and Mrs. Tiddly-Winkle in the Peter Rabbit movies. But her big passion project was the 2021 musical film, aptly titled Music, which she wrote, directed, and produced. The reaction to the movie was less than stellar. It was nominated for 2 Golden Globes for Best Musical and Best Actress, but also won the Razzies for Worst Director, Worst Actress, and Worst Supporting Actress. But who cares about the Razzies these days? They're full of themselves. I'm sure this is a perfectly fine... Oh no. So this is the first of many musical sequences in the movie with the titular music. Yes, the title isn't just a reference to the fact that it's a musical. The protagonist's name is Music. So we see Music... I want to say dancing, but she's actually doing caricatures of autistic body language set to Sia song playing in the background. And it's painful to watch. The movie has just started, and already I'm in pain. Stop this ride, I want to get off. It all turns out to be a dream, of course, as Music is now seen living with her grandmother, who takes care of her. She listens to music on her Walkman, as part of her condition, and she wanders around the city while other people watch over her. Most notably her neighbors Felix and Ebo, played by Leslie Odom Jr. I don't know, maybe it's because Music isn't comfortable with people following her, but if you're not street smart, walking the city alone is the equivalent of coming up to a mugger and asking to get robbed. So I think it's time to address the elephant in the room, and it's that the actress who plays Music, Maddie Ziegler, isn't actually autistic, she's neurotypical. Sia has gone on record to say that she originally was going to cast an autistic person to play Music, but decided to cast Maddie because it would be more compassionate. In actuality, it was because Maddie has appeared in several of her music videos, and they're basically joined at the hip, a la Depp and Burton. Also, compassionate, please. Dustin Hoffman put on a compassionate performance in Rain Man because he actually worked with disabled people and studied those with Savant syndrome. Did Sia or Maddie do any proper research for this role? I don't know. This just looks like a bad mockery of disabled people. Mediocre films would be telling you to tone it down.
Go to bed.
I wish I could, but I still got another hour and 15 minutes to go. The camera work in this movie is also a big problem. There's a lot of shaky cam and very questionable camera angles. Get this. Music comes home from the library only to find that her grandmother has passed away. This is meant to be a heartbreaking scene, but between the camera lingering on the dead body and Maddie's bad acting, it just comes off as goofy. Way to completely ruin the mood. So Music now has to be looked over by her half-sister Zoo, played by Kate Hudson. A talented actress, but you wouldn't be able to tell with how bored she looks throughout this whole thing.
Do I have to do something to get one of those, or can I just buy one?
You earned these.
I have to earn it.
Yeah, that's true.
Zoo is a recovering drug dealer who isn't happy when she gets no money in the will, and even less enthusiastic the next morning when Music has a meltdown. Enter their neighbor Ebo, who is also there to look after Music. So how does he calm her down? He lays on top of her to physically restrain her, or crushes her as he says.
I am crushing her with my love. She will be all right. Don't like that.
Okay, the positioning and context is deadly awkward enough. But if an autistic person is having a meltdown like this, putting them in physical restraints isn't a good thing to do. It's a terrible idea. Not only could you stress them out even worse, you could even cause them injury, or even worse, you could end up killing them. And if that wasn't bad enough, there's a scene later on in a park where Music has another meltdown, and Zoo hits a shoot wrestling takedown on her onto the ground. A move that has in fact killed autistic people in real life. Seriously, Sia, what made you think this was a good idea? What crazy conspiracy theory health website did you go to get this information? I mean, you say you want to help out the autistic community? Well, these two scenes are good examples of things that you should not do. I could go further into the actual plot of the movie, but what plot? Most of the time we see Zoo and Ebo wandering around with Music, and every now and then it's padded out with a random musical sequence, so to speak, with Music, Zoo, Ebo, and other dressed up in wacky colorful outfits in front of weird backgrounds. The movie is only an hour and 40 minutes long, and I swear these sequences add up to a good half hour of it. I know they're supposed to be fantasy sequences from the mindsets of the characters, Music in particular, but most of the time it just feels like a bad Lady Gaga video. And even Lady Gaga has more dignity than this. In all honesty, and especially after watching this, I've come to appreciate Lady Gaga a lot more. If you get past all the outfits and gimmicks, she is a talented musician. Some of her music actually slaps. But no matter how talented Sia may be, I'm sorry, but this movie does not make me feel like listening to her songs anytime soon. So there is a bit of a plot point where Zoo is meeting with her dealer friend Rudy, played by Ben Schwartz. Yep, I bet you didn't know Sonic was a dope dealer, did you? I guess those PSAs were part of his community service. Anyway, Zoo is looking to sell drugs and make some money, but on the way to make the deal, Music gets stung by a bee, and Zoo rushes her to the hospital only to leave the drugs behind. As a result, Zoo falls back off the wagon and gets into a fight with a neighbor. At the same time, there's a subplot where Ebo's boxing student Felix dies, and it's one of the most baffling deaths I've ever seen on film. He finds his parents arguing, and when he tries to stop them, his dad knocks him to the ground, and then all of a sudden he's dead and bleeding from the head? How does a guy this size die from a simple floor bump? You know, I took wrestling lessons, and you know what the first thing we learned to do was? Take a flat back bump. By the way, those drugs that Zoo was trying to deliver, turns out they belong to Ebo. There's a plot where Ebo explains to Zoo that his ex-wife left him for his brother, who she's marrying, and the movie ends with them attending the wedding, and I'm apparently supposed to care, but I don't. Why? Because one, this movie is deadly boring. Between the musical sequences and all the long stretches of absolutely nothing happening, and two, I feel no sympathy for any of these characters because they're all unlikable. That's two of the worst traits you can ever have in a movie. Having it being boring and centering around characters you can't relate with or want to see succeed. I can't relate to Music because there's nothing to the character other than the fact she's autistic. There's nothing to work with. Zoo is an absolutely terrible sister, and the movie tries to make us feel sympathy for her, despite the fact she makes these shitty life choices. And Ebo, this dude should not be taking care of anybody. And the thing is, Sia wanted to have autistic people relate to Music because in her mind, she thought this was a good interpretation. She wanted this to be a feel-good story in a world full of danger and chaos. Well, she failed. The movie flopped at the box office, grossing only $646,000 on a $16 million budget. It was obliterated by critics and the autism community to the point where there were calls to cut it from the Golden Globe nominations. Not that it mattered, since it didn't win. And what was Sia's reaction to all the harsh criticism? Well, she basically pulled an Amy's Baking Company and started throwing insults at everybody, saying they didn't see the movie or understand the message. We're all just a bunch of haters and Reddits. You know, I'm beginning to think social media was a mistake. Since then, Sia has since apologized for her comments and has even stated that she's shown signs of having autism, but it's already too little too late. While there are some talented actors in this thing, they cannot save this train wreck. If you really want to see good representations of autism in media, watch Rain Man or Amphibia, or read The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Anything but this. I'm the Hardcore Dude. Until next time, see ya! See ya. Peace out and cease.